Hello and happy Thursday. Today we're talking about Chapter 10, which has to do with the full screen. Okay, so in a nutshell, the full screen helps a company to decide which product concepts that they're going to chase after, which ones are the best ones, and it gives you a way to prioritize them. So I'm getting ahead of myself here. The three purposes of the full screen are, first of all, to decide, do we even continue with this product concept or not? So there's a no-go decision there. So you may have a product concept that's a great idea, your customers love it, but you do not have the manufacturing capability or the financial resources or whatever to pursue this project. And so it's just a project you need to not consider. So that's the first thing, go or no go. Secondly, the full screen lets you score all of your product concepts, and because you can score them, then you can rank them, and that lets you prioritize which ones to go after first in your product development pipeline, okay? So that's important. And finally, the full screen is a process that involves the entire company departments, or all of the various departments in a company, from manufacturing to marketing to finance and so forth. And so you're getting all of these people together and communicating about this new product concept or this batch of new product concepts. And so that's a very healthy exercise for a company to go through to get all of those people talking. Worthwhile just for that reason. So those are the three purposes of the full screen. Okay, so bottom line, the full screen is trying to assess the potential profitability of the various product concepts. And if we could simply assess net present value for each of the product concepts, we'd be done. But we generally cannot do that. And so we're looking to other criteria to judge these product concepts on. We call those surrogates or substitutes for a net present value, sort of an estimate. Okay, so for example, you might want to estimate technical chances for success and commercial chances for success. That's very typical for what a company would look to do with a new product. But again, you can't necessarily quantify those things either. And so you continue to look for another layer of surrogates. So for example, if you can estimate sales, if you can estimate profitability or cost, those can work into surrogates for your opportunity for commercial success. And so that lets you then get your arms around what your potential profitability could be if you can do that, and then also do the same on the technical side. So that's what we're trying to do with the full screen. We're basically identifying criteria or factors that are important to your company, and then finding a way to score your different product concepts against those different criteria. So one point here is that the full screen model that's used by a company will be likely very different from the model that's used by a different company, because they need to be developed to be in line with your own company goals, your own company situation. And so they'll just be different from one company to another. All right, so moving on here, once you have identified the criteria that are going to be important to your company, somebody in the company, it may be a team, it may be a president of the company, but somebody is assigning a weight to each of those criteria or scoring factors. And also, each of the criteria needs to be something that a number can be assigned to. So at this point in the process, what happens is that each of the team members on the new products team, they'll score these product concepts on the different criteria, and then those values are aggregated in some way to give a final score for each of the new product concepts. And then those various scores for each of the new product concepts are compared, and the highest one is the best choice. So that's pretty much how it works. But let me show you the example that's given in the textbook. Okay, so this is a fairly generic scoring model. The verbiage is very generic. We'll have an assignment for this chapter where I'll be looking for you to talk about these criteria in much more concrete terms. But these are very generic, and you can use these as a starting point. So here we have our factors that are important to the company. We have technical factors and we have commercial factors. And for each of these factors, a scale is set up that lets you give a score to each of these. Somebody has assigned a weight for each of these, and so each team member will take this scoring sheet and they'll give each product concept a score for each of these factors. And then typically what you do is you'd multiply your score here against the weight to come up with this adjusted score or a weighted score. And so you can average all those scores across all the team members, or you can drop the high and the low and average all the rest, or you can add them all together. However you do it, as a company, you'll come up with a score for each product concept that can be compared then against the other product concepts. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Again, this is a model that will be individual to your company. And so there's quite a few different kinds of models that have been developed, and I'm just going to go over those very briefly. They're in the textbook, and so get a feel for the different models that are out there and in use. And some may be more applicable to different kinds of companies and different kinds of industries, or different kinds of product areas. I guess that'd be industries, but anyway, okay. So for example, this is a scoring model that would identify the factors for a more technological or technical kind of a product. So again, you'll see this scoring model is put out by the Industrial Research Institute. So again, we have technical success factors and we have commercial success factors, and so you could use this list as the basis for your model, set up a scale for each of these, assign a weight of importance for each of these, and build your own scoring sheet just like the one we just looked at. Okay, so that's one model. Another one, this one's called the New Prod Studies model. And in this one, there are some criteria or factors that simply have to be met. And so if those factors aren't met, you could consider those culling factors, and those new product concepts would just be pulled off the list. Okay, so and then beyond that, if they meet those, then there's these other criteria down here that would let you score each of the products that passed that first level of screening on the full screen. Okay, so here's another model. This one's called the analytical hierarchy process. And in this case, what you're doing is you're establishing some primary criteria that categorize your decision. So in the book, they're talking about which new car model do we want to choose. It could be a sedan, it could be a subcompact, it could be an SUV. And so for each of those, they're going to have different sorts of characteristics according to these primary criteria. And then for each of the primary criteria, there are secondary criteria that you can come up with that characterize the primary criteria. So again, these form the basis of your factors, and you can go about scoring each of those different car options against those different criteria and come up with a score. And you can see here that in this case, the sedan and the subcompact are the ones that are getting the best scores. Okay, so this is quite a bit different model than the other ones we've looked at so far. Finally, if you would like to have a model for your company that is more of a visual sort of an illustration of the scores, you can make a profile sheet that just averages the team scores or the team member scores for each of the factor that you've identified as being important, and you can lay them out graphically in this way so that you can see that you have the highest strengths on this more technical end of the scale for a particular product. Okay, so hope that helps you get an introduction to Chapter 10. There's a lot of information in there, but really this chapter is all about figuring out a method for your company to score your new product concepts and prioritize them and get all the departments involved to start working on these concepts going forward. So on that note, I'm going to end for Chapter 10. Hope you all have a great rest of your week, and I will see you back here with Chapter 11. Bye-bye.